History, as I know it, is full of gaps. And one of the most intriguing gaps might just be the lost civilization of Tartaria. If you've ever fallen down a late-night rabbit hole, scrolling through old maps or bizarre architecture, you've probably stumbled on the name Tartaria. Was it a real empire or just a historical glitch? Here's the thing. Tartaria, sometimes called the Tartarian Empire, pops up in centuries-old maps, documents, and even at the lavish world fairs of the 1800s. Some claim it was a highly advanced global civilization, one that spanned continents, built incredible structures, and even wielded technology that still puzzles us today. But if Tartaria was so influential, why don't we learn about it in school? Why is this name, once printed across vast areas of Asia and parts of Europe, now dismissed as a myth or mistake? Supporters of the Tartaria theory have a wild answer. They say the empire was deliberately erased from history. According to them, Tartarians were master architects. They supposedly constructed massive domes, intricate water systems, and energy-efficient buildings, wonders that modern engineers still scratch their heads at. Even stranger, these buildings, the ones we call Greco-Roman or Victorian, aren't just in Europe. They're scattered across Russia, America, India, and more. So, were local governments really responsible for building these monumental structures in just a few decades? Or are we looking at the leftovers of a forgotten civilization? Now, let's talk world fairs. These events in the 1800s and early 1900s featured enormous ornate buildings, supposedly built just for temporary exhibitions, then torn down. But look at the size and detail. Why invest so much for something that won't last? Some say these temporary buildings were actually much older, relics from a lost age, Tartaria's age. Then there's the Great Mud Flood theory. It claims that evidence of Tartaria was wiped out by a cataclysmic flood. Photos of buildings with windows and doors buried below street level. For believers, that's not bad urban planning. It's proof of a disaster that buried an entire civilization right under our feet. Of course, mainstream historians aren't buying it. They chalk up the Tartaria theory to misinterpretation, conspiracy, and a dash of imagination. But as the saying goes, history is written by the victors, and sometimes the truth gets buried with time. So, what was Tartaria? Was it a real empire erased from history, or a myth pieced together from coincidences and mystery? In the end, the more I dig into the past, the more questions I find. And Tartaria, it might be the biggest unsolved puzzle of them all. Subscribe for more ancient mysteries, hidden history, and forbidden knowledge.